What's up everyone and welcome to another Warframe video. For this video I want to ask you a question. Have you ever been playing Warframe and thought, damn, I wish I was playing Super Monkey Ball right now? Well, never fear, now you can play it in Warframe as well using my favourite frame in the game, and that is Nyx. My channel's always been so firmly focused on the serious build, super min-maxed ones. Honestly, it's occasionally fun to just do a quick video on a build that is fun to just mess around with, and that is where this Nyx build is going to come in. Normally my video would be full of we're using all of this to interact and synergize with each other to get the most out of her. However, today that's not really the case at all. From an ability standpoint, we really only have two abilities that we actually care about. Her recent changes to absorb, well, relative recent, and her augment for it, assimilate, as well as our helmet. Absorb puts up an invulnerable shield around Nyx, or in this case that's our ball, and that absorbs enemy damage, incoming enemy damage, and makes her invincible at the cost of making her completely immobile. Now that doesn't sound very Super Monkey Ball, does it? Well, that's where assimilate comes in. You can start to move around, you can roll, you can do a single jump with her, as well as do some basic parkour moves, and that's going to form the absolute core of our build. The second part of the build is the helmet, which is going to be Wrathful Advanced, not one that we actually use very much, to be perfectly honest with you. However, the crit buff allows us to do some fairly silly damage, and also to reproc melee exposure on our melee weapon. Also, since this build lacks any real vertical movement due to the limitations of assimilate, the teleport that the second part of Wrathful Advanced brings is super helpful at allowing us to reposition ourselves at will. The build itself is going to focus purely on parkour speed, as well as keeping absorb up for as long as possible. There are no HP mods on here at all because, well, we're invincible, why do we need those? Umbral Intensify is going to be for power strength, so we can max out the strip from psychic bolts in case we need it, as well as buffing our helmet. Prime's Continuity for duration on our crit buff from the Wrathful Advance. Equilibrium's working with our Sentinel and Synth Deconstruct as our energy generation, combined with Fleeting and Streamline. Prime Flow, as much as EG stored as possible, as cheap as possible. Amar's Anguish, mostly for the set bonus, but it also combines with Amar's Hatred to teleport enemies upon a heavy attack, which is nice so you don't have to spam Wrathful Advance to get the teleport on heavy. You can sort of do that once every 20 seconds or so to reproc the melee arcane, and then fall back on the Amar teleport. The arcanes on this are going to be Strike and Fury to buff melee damage and melee attack speed. Now our Archon shards are where things are going to start getting a little sillier. 5 Tau Amber shards for a parkour velocity, and that's where this thing starts taking a pretty wild turn. So that's the build. How we're actually going to play her. Well, in all honesty, you don't have to play her really in any specific way if you don't want to. You can always use your normal melee or even your guns, while purely using the roll to roll around the map and to reposition herself to attacking your enemies. That does lose what I feel is a core part of the build that you've probably noticed from the modding. Personally, and this is the reason the Amar mods and the helmet are here, I find the most fun way to play her is with a heavy attack speed. You're leveraging the teleport from the Amar set bonus and Wrathful Advance to rapidly reposition around the map. You stick Amalgam Barrel Diffusion on the secondary for even higher memes, but that's not where the fun stops with the heavy attacking. You could set up the Sancti Magistar, slap the entire map for 1 billion damage and wipe everyone out that way. There is nothing wrong with that, it's very very good, but honestly, this is a fun build. I find that a little bit too boring for this build. Personally, what I like to do instead, choose a weapon with a heavy attack projectile like the Nyx Prime, Redeemer Prime, or even the Coryphel. Why is that? Because it feels so massively personal when you kill an enemy like that, especially if you teleport to them. Imagine this, you've got an invulnerable Warframe barreling around the map in an invincible bubble like crazy, teleporting from enemy to enemy, popping up right beside you just to blow you away with a single massive shot from their gunblade. Even more so if you don't kill them with a single shot, if you like for an Xmas for example, only for that invincible monkey ball to finish you off with their Parazon, dropping an energy orb upon your death for them to further sustain their own build. It's a very very silly build, and man, it's a lot of fun. I'm still getting used to it, as you can see in the footage in the background. I'm not that good with it just yet. I've had normal parkour ingrained into me for the last 10 years, dropping that to focus on rolling for repositioning, especially with how far and how quickly you go. It's very 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 difficult. But while it's a silly build, it's actually a very legit build at the same time. Grab a weapon you can kill efficiently with, whether that's a melee or a gun, and you are pretty much unkillable in just about any content in the entire game. It's fun to just mess about in Warframe. Not everything has to be this super slick, super synergistic build. It can just be messing about with a ton of particle velocity and a teleporting heavy attack melee. This build is a ton of fun and I recommend giving it a go. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If there's anything you would like me to cover, let me know in the comments below and I shall catch you in the next one.